sound. Devo Jones with the pick six, Keanu Neal with the hard hit, getting the ball back on offense. Watch Julio Jones keep moving the sticks. Calvin Ridley in for the score. We came back, we up 4, about to get in. Our victory stance, no coming back. We closing the door. A-T-L blackout. A-T-L blackout.
What's going on, football fans? We are live once again, and we are live, and we talking about a win.
Uh-oh.
Jimmy, what you got?
Hey, man, it's your boy Jimbo Dean, a.k.a. Jimbo Slice, a.k.a. Jimmy Obama. And you can call me whichever one you want. But please do not call me no damn New Orleans Saint fan. How about them Falcons with that dub, Big Mike? What's going on, baby?
Hey, listen, two things happened this week. We got a dub, and the Jet, he made it into the end zone. Anytime we get a dub and the Jet makes it into the end zone, it's a great Sunday. Gives us a little bit to talk about, a little bit of enthusiasm. You know, 0-5 has been tough, but we 1-5.
Hey,
and there are a lot of fans to talk about with 1-5, JL.
That's right. No, look, now Raheem Morris says we're 1-0. We got that 1-0 mentality, right?
That's it.
You know what? In all the despair of this 0-5 start, I didn't even realize Jones hadn't scored a touchdown yet. Yeah. Like when they made that comment, I was like, what? You got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
Like out of all the craziness that has been going on, all the just awfulness of the start of the season, that was like so like minor in a sense that it took me off guard on Sunday. But as we say, as we do, I will be the first to say I would much rather talk about a win than talk about, right? I know that there for every win that we have this season, whether it's only one more or whatever, people are going to be like, oh man, you're messing up our draft status. You're messing up our draft status. I'm not, as like I said last year, when we went on that 6-2 run in the second half, I'd much rather talk about a win because drafts aren't, draft picks aren't guaranteed, right?
That's right.
So let's address that part early, right? But I'll say this, all in all, it was a good team win. And I think, Jimmy, you may even have tweeted it out either Sunday or Monday. It didn't really look like they changed much. Not
to me.
It didn't look like there was that much of a difference in the team. Like in the play calling. Let me put it that way. Now, the team looked different in the sense that they were flying around and they looked like they had more urgency. They looked like they had more energy, so to speak. They didn't look as lethargic for some reason. And so that is that was a good to see in a sense. I don't know if it was the supposed butt chewing that they took at practice where Raheem Morris said something about wanting to make practice uncomfortable. Like, I'm not 100% sure what he could have done to make it uncomfortable other than walking around with a baseball bat, threatening to kneecap people.
Uh-oh.
Right. Yeah. Did you make it uncomfortable for Dirk Cutter? Because he's one of the main guys. He's one of the main guys that's behind us, where we are right now. So hopefully he made Dirk Cutter uncomfortable too, while he made Dante Fowler and the other guys uncomfortable also.
Yeah. I definitely hope that, whatever it took, like there was a couple quotes, from Raheem Morris after the game and, yesterday and things like that I found interesting. And I don't know if it was like necessarily a shot at Dan Quinn because I don't think Raheem Morris is that guy. I think he has a lot of respect for Dan Quinn. But he made a comment about he didn't want to practice the same things over and over again, right? Like he was trying to change up plays and stuff like that in practice, which is good. If that's what it takes, to get the team to respond, then that's what it takes.
Right.
As we have said many a times before, and I'll probably say many a times again, just because these guys make millions of dollars doesn't necessarily mean they're always motivated, right?
That's right.
I mean, we make what we make in our jobs, and for us, it's good money, and we're able to support our families. Obviously, we would like more money, but that is what that is, But still, every now and again, you need to get remotivated at your own job. So I can understand that,
Yep.
And maybe if it was a deal where they finally realized that it sunk in that there is consequences for what they're, for their performance, right? Like, it could straight up and down be a thing where they looked around and said, okay, I am now on a 11-game audition for the next regime. And I need to put on tape that I want to be here. So, that's...
Also,
go ahead.
They also got incentives in them contracts now. The boys ain't finna tank it. They want to get paid.
That's it. And, yeah, the idea of tanking from professionals is crazy to me.
Yeah,
everybody brings it up, but I don't think you could convince a true professional to tank, right?
No.
Because as I said before, say you go out there and the management or whatever does convince you to tank, and you start playing badly, the new regime comes in, they're not going to want to keep you, and another team isn't going to want to, pick you up either. So the idea of professionals tanking is something that I think gets people get into what I could call their Madden mode, where they're trying to play, Madden front office, wheeling and dealing, doing things that aren't comprehensive in or aren't realistic in the real world of the NFL. So let's talk about some of the positives of this game. Mike, what you got for me?
Well, I think one thing that jumped out to me as a positive, to your point, I think you gave a good high level analysis of Dirk Cutter, Raheem Morris, because if you think about it, not a lot fundamentally changed in terms of, a Dan Quinn led team, Raheem Morris led teams in terms of the plays. But the one thing that stuck out to me the most this past game is intentionality. That's my word this week. It's intent. I saw players with intent. I saw Foy Oluokun, playing with intent. Deion Jones had to have listened to our last show. Deion Jones, we want to see you wrap your arms around a person and tackle them to the ground. I don't want to see all of this forearm,
chest bumping, basically.
Exactly, trying to push a guy to the ground. I want to see you wrap up and tackle a guy to the ground. So I think the intentionality from the defense is what stuck out. The offense, they hummed along. And I think intentionality and finish were two things this week that I saw that were definite positives, because everybody collectively in DBN, we saw these guys get ahead and we said, okay, how will these guys keep it? They always look good. Jimbo said it, nailed it last week when he talked about that whiskey spirit. And boy, if they didn't show some whiskey spirit,
right.
Yeah. So I was a little bit concerned, right? Because I'm like, okay, will these guys finish? So I saw intentionality and finish, definite positives for me this week.
There you go, Jimbo. You got some positives you want to throw out?
Man, I got three good positives that stood out against the Minnesota Vikings. And the first one is time of possession. Okay, the Atlanta Falcons had the ball 40 minutes and 7 seconds to the Minnesota Vikings 19 minutes. You keep them off the field, they can't score. Defense rush, we in the game. We outrushed them. We had 99 rushing yards. I don't know how many they had, but we outrushed them. Almost 100 yards collectively between the backs. We're controlling the ground game. And last but not least, what Raheem Morris has been harping on all week before the game was turnover. 3-to-1 turnover ratio. We had 3 interceptions today, 1 turnover. I understand we don't lost some games where we don't want a turnover battle. I understand that. But we stayed on their neck with it. Once we got them 3, we capitalized on them 3, which is the way you win ball games. And then he just stayed consistent throughout the game. Now, like I tweeted out, I said, I don't really see that much of a difference. Still was a soft zone. Dirk Cutter opened up a little bit now. Don't get me wrong.
He did.
Opened up.
We're gonna get into that.
But they stayed on top of him and just finished it on out. And he called the same plays. He just called them differently than Dan Quinn wanted him to call them. Same plays, but call them differently, JR. At the time that he called them, that's when the time he needed to call them, and that's when they worked. So them the 3 things I got out of them 3 positives I got out of that, and it went to a dub. And maybe he might stick with that same thing now, JR. I like it, man.
Yeah, no, that's something we're gonna dive in here in the second segment, I guess you could say, if you want to use like a radio term. Yeah. Because I do want to get into this, Dirk Cutter thing, because I did see some differences there. But first of all, let's go ahead and jump in this chat. It's already popping off.
Loud.
No, man, it is going crazy.
Look at that.
Kevlar Quip says, welcome back, baby. What's going on, Kevlar? Jaden's
What's
up
up?
in here. What's going on, Jaden?
So,
Yeah,
He
it
says,
was
Tavares Raven says, I hope we are back to the Dirty Merv mindset. Now, that's something interesting. I know y'all probably saw it on the title, but that was something that I picked up on Raheem Morris talking about, the Brotherhood meeting the Dirty Bird. And, so that was an interesting, concept there,
I kinda like
kind of trying to like reform that identity a little bit,
Yeah.
which I think was sorely needed,
Yeah.
Anthony Wright wants to know what's popping. What's going on, Anthony? We're glad you
What's
decided
up,
to
man?
join us. He says he also follows up by, I'm not listening to any person in Falcons Nation talking about losing on purpose. No, sir, I'm not. I ain't going to do it.
Not over here.
As we talked about, and Speed Falcon for Life said, Dirt Cutter called a solid game. That's what we're going to transition into next. Here in just a minute, we're going to start talking about this Dirt Cutter called game. Ghost Pepper agrees with Anthony. He says 100% F tanking. Yes, I agree. F tanking. I'd much rather have. Yeah, because look, you start tanking, and that'll mess with the whole perception. I'm gonna go ahead and call it. Indianapolis Colts ain't never been right since they sucked for luck. Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't want that mentality creeping into my organization at any level, right?
Good example right there.
The champ said, where would this team be if Broman Fist Bump Quinn was fired? Oh, Broman Fist Bump Quinn was fired last year. Well, it depends on who they would have brought in, but I'd agree.
Never know.
Yeah, I mean, I thought he should have been gone last year. That much is for sure.
Well, and let me add one more thing to that.
What's up?
And okay, so yes, Dan Quinn did not coach the Atlanta Falcons. He did coach the Atlanta Braves on Sunday.
Oh no! Come on. Hey,
that's another
look.
conversation.
On the topic before Dan Quinn got fired.
Oh,
How many of y'all, when y'all saw him come on that thing with the Atlanta Braves hat on, said, "Oh, we sunk"? How many of y'all said it? I thought it.
Me?
I was like, "Why you had to put the hat on, Quinn? Why you got to do it to him?"
Got to.
I'm sorry. We had to get that out.
Had to
All right,
bring it up. I saw so many memes that said the wrong team won this weekend. That was pretty funny. That you had Georgia lost, the Braves lost, everybody lost, the wrong team won. Those were good. Anyway, Speed Falcon said we ran a little bit of 3-4 in the game as well. I did see some formation variety from the defense that I hadn't necessarily seen, so that was good to see from the defense, and I hope that continues. Woon Carter says, "Rise up, pound for pound family. Great win on Sunday. Do you guys think Dan Quinn was the Falcons' downfall?" In a sense, right? Like I'm not going to sit here and squarely put this at Dan Quinn's feet.
Yeah.
Because I think, okay, let's go back to way back in the Wayback Machine, right? And go back to Chris Carter, right? Wide receiver Chris Carter. He gets, what was it, traded or cut? I cannot remember. I'm having this. It's going to be in a bad analogy because I got a bad memory. But anyway, the point I'm making is that he goes to a new team. He said that was the best thing that ever happened to him. Not that the team that he went from was a bad team, but it was a wake-up call. And that's the point I'm trying to make here. Do I think Dan Quinn was bad for this team? Not necessarily. But when you fire somebody mid-season, that is a wake-up call.
Mm-hmm.
That is a call of, all right, fellas, it's put up or shut up.
Yep.
Do you want to be here? Do you want to be a professional football player? I mean, how many times do you hear guys who get cut say that? Like the best thing that ever happened to them was getting cut because it made them refocus. And how many times have we said, somebody who didn't get the wake-up call that they needed, a la Albert Hainsworth, gets paid a ton of money, never amounts to anything because, he just got complacent, never got the wake-up call that he needed, so to speak. So as far as do I think Dan Quinn was a problem? Not in the way that just firing him fixes it.
Yeah.
It
was a two-sided thing. It was the players and the coach. It wasn't solely on DQ.
No, it definitely
I don't believe so.
Right. And to that point, I would say consider this phase one because phase one is getting Dan Quinn out of here.
Oh, yeah.
Phase two is we're going bad apple picking, and that's what you're going to see continue to happen
throughout the rest of the season. So that's a good thing that you brought that up, because we're gonna go ahead and address this Falcons, Hawks, Braves fans extraordinaire. I love that guy's name. His question, he says, can y'all address these Ryan and Julio trade rumors at the deadline? I'm tired of hearing this poop emoji. Mad face. I don't do good with the whole emojis thing, you know.
Yeah.
But you want me to jump on it?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, you got something to say.
Okay. First thing first. And I'm going to say 2 words. I want y'all to listen real close. The 2 words is salary cap.
Yeah.
Right? So that go one thing, salary cap. Number 2, these players, Matt Ryan and Julio Jones themselves, has restructured their contract each and every year to stay on this team, to bring wins, and to bring in new players. So I just do not see it happening. It's something you can really be optimistic about. These guys will do whatever they got to do. So when off the blank say Falcons for life, it's another side to that. Matt Ryan and Julio Jones is stressing the same thing, Falcon for life. You don't restructure your contract to stay on the team to bring in new players or drop the salary cap down for nothing. You just did because them boys want their money. So Matt Ryan and Julio Jones do it almost every year. If y'all ain't noticed that, so I really want to I don't think that's just really gonna have that much buzz to it, JR. I really don't.
Now I got into a conversation with a Bears fan over the course of the week, and he was talking about the rumors of Matt Ryan getting traded to the Bears or whatever, and I hadn't seen those rumors, and obviously those rumors come from the fact that the Bears have Nick Foles and Mitch Trubisky as their quarterback, and they've apparently they haven't signed Trubisky yet, so they have the space, so to speak, right? But the big thing there with Matt Ryan and Julio Jones is, as we have talked about before, you're talking about a lot of cap space that people have to be able to eat. And with the COVID cap in place,
yes, sir,
I don't really see any team willing to do that, right? And people, as I see the chats popping off with the names of every college quarterback out there, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields. This man even says Alabama QB. He doesn't even know his name. He just says Alabama QB. Everybody, as we will address throughout the rest of this season, all these new toys sound better than what you have, right? The grass is always greener. But the logic of the situation of Matt Ryan getting traded, it's just, I can't see it happening.
So, JR, you want to get rid of an established quarterback and bring in somebody that ain't never played a down in the NFL? You want to do that, JR?
I don't want to do that, but I'm gonna go ahead and point out a bunch of people who do want to do that. Number one being every rapper in Atlanta, right? Every rapper in Atlanta thinks that they're a GM, and thinks that they want Matt Ryan gone to replace him with anybody else, which
MVP,
right?
Yeah, and I think addressing that as the elephant in the room is like Atlanta is a pretty eclectic city, right? But we don't want rappers. We want rappers to rap and bring money to the city that way. We do not want you on First Take speaking for the city of.
No, we don't.
To the rappers that speak on behalf. As a matter of fact, here's the thing: rappers rap. We matter of fact. To T.I., because for some reason, every time, we want to say, well, what's going on with Atlanta sports? We look through all of the Rolodex of people that we can talk to about Atlanta objective, Atlanta opinion. We pick T.I. and we say T.I., well, Matt Ryan got to go. Okay, well, why? Because he got to go. Like, right. That's what I'm saying. Like, because
he ain't got that swag.
He ain't got it right.
What?
Right. And here's the thing. And don't get me wrong. I like Trevor Lawrence. I like Justin Fields. I like Nance, the quarterback from North Dakota State. But put these guys on the New York Jets offensive line. They will be running for their lives. So it's one of those things where when we look at quarterbacks, and we look at these shiny new toys, these type of things take time. Don't get me wrong. Joe Burrow is the exception. I think Joe Burrow is looking as expected as the number one pick, right? But everybody is not going to be a Joe Burrow. For every Joe Burrow we think about, we can think about a Jamarcus Russell. We can think about
down the line,
Yeah.
We can go down the line.
I'm about to say, yeah, I can name you 100 of them. I can name you RG3. I can name you Johnny Manziel. I can name you Sam Darnold. You talking about the Jets? I can name you
a whole show on
Josh Rosen. I mean, we can go on and on forever about that, right?
Josh Rosen should make every quarterback want to stay in college the fourth year.
Right.
Unless it's just a surefire thing, Josh Rosen is a great example. Absolutely.
But I'm going to go ahead and call it, though. Has it not just about been Matt Ryan's MO to have a, not bad game? Well, I mean, bad game, but kind of weird game. And then that's the catalyst what ends up, bouncing him back throughout the rest of the season. He had that game where he throws the pick against Carolina in the end zone the week before, and that was the catalyst, right? Oh, he's had it. Matt Ryan's arm's done. Can't play. Da-da-da-da-da. And it seems like it happens every year, right? Because it especially comes in a time when he feels like he's got to be Superman, right? And it has to be perfect. And then he has a game where it's just, absolute. It seems like the wheels are falling off. And then he almost comes back with an FU game.
Yes, sir.
And it really seemed like this Minnesota game was an FU game, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, man throws for 4 touchdowns, has a passer rating of 130 something.
Out of the roof.
Right. No interceptions at all. And as we talked about before, I don't know if Dan Quinn had a particular clamp around Matt Ryan or not. And I was trying to find a tweet that somebody mentioned it, and I couldn't, when I went back to look for it, I couldn't find it. But straight up talked about, I saw Matt Ryan audibling more on Sunday than I have seen him in the past few years.
Absolutely.
To a point where I was like, okay, well, that's just not something he wants to do. Because I didn't, he just wouldn't do it. And I don't know if, with Dan Quinn finally being gone, if some clamps are being removed. His preferences, Dan Quinn's preferences, now that he's no longer there, maybe they feel like they can do some things that they hadn't necessarily been able to do as yet. Do y'all get the same feeling?
So let me tell you why I agree. Absolutely. Let me tell you why I agree. But nobody other than the Jet told you when he scored his first touchdown if that was true. After he scored the touchdown, even though it was an oldie to the Braves, what did he do? What did he do once he scored his touchdown? He mixed it up, right? That's what he's talking about. He's talking about mixing that thing up, right? So that's exactly, if Julio was saying, hey, well, you know what? That meant more than the Braves. The average person might have thought the Braves playing a couple hours, mix it up, right? But it was more relevant to what was going on in the game. Wow. First of all, Julio scored a touchdown on the first drive, convincing, in the end zone. Classic Julio, toe tap, perfect, right? And I think that might be, to your point, once we go later in the show, why I think that we don't need to, overreact about Raheem Morris, but it gives you a lot. It kind of gives you a peek into the type of coach that made Raheem Morris one of the youngest head coaches in NFL history. Let's not forget about it. So that's all.
No doubt.
That's a good one, Mike. That's a good analogy.
I'm gonna
say this real quick. I'm gonna say this real quick, JR, and then you can go and take over. Mm-hmm. Ain't nobody saying this about Aaron Rodgers, what he did in that Tampa Bay Buccaneers game. Ain't nobody saying get rid of him. He need to go. He the worst quarterback on this team and da-da-da-da-da. Ain't nobody doing him like that. But as soon as Matt Ryan have one bad game, we trying to outcast him. But I don't see nobody doing Aaron Rodgers like that when he had a terrible game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, threw a pick six, and you can name it. But as soon as Matt Ryan do that, it's the end of the world. I just don't get it. You treat him differently because he haven't won a Super Bowl, but at least he got us there, and the defense lost the game for us. He do not play defense. I can't stress that enough. Mm-hmm. But anyway, I'm about to get fired up. I got my Matt Ryan jersey on. Let me back up off this a little bit, JR. Go on, take over now before I start doing Karate Kid off up in here.
Yeah, please don't.
Take over, JR.
Don't be hitting no wax on, wax off over here now. But no, it's very much a thing where, for whatever reason, I don't know if it's because he has what I call a corporate personality, but Matt Ryan never has gotten the call, so to speak, or the love that some of these other quarterbacks get for being, an upper echelon quarterback for pretty much his entire career, right?
No question.
But we could talk about that for full on hours, right?
Yeah. I can argue with everybody who.
But let's jump back into chat as it has been moving and hopping and popping. We're gonna scroll back up a little ways. All right. Gianni Phillips says Matt has always been balling. What are you guys be talking about? I'm assuming I've been watching chat, and there's some people who are going off, as they always do, about Matt Ryan and his career, so to speak. Thomas Talented said the team apparently is scared to get better. Well, I mean, we're gonna see. We're gonna see just how scared they actually are.
Yes, we are.
Kevlar Quip says it would be crazy to draft another wide receiver early on. Defense needs considering Julio. Would it be crazy? Sorry. He said, yes. Especially if you hold on to Julio. I wouldn't suggest drafting with the defensive needs that we're going to have. I wouldn't suggest drafting anything defensive or anything offensive earlier than the third round for sure.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
So Sean Gomes, now this is the gentleman who's been making a lot of, he said, greatest Falcon. He did, I think he's talking about maybe Vic. He did nothing with Chris Miller and Billy Joe Tolliver better than Ryan, and Vic's the GOAT. I'm not getting into a Vic argument because most people like Vic for a reason that they don't want to admit. I understand the hype and the swag that he brought to this team. I get it. I really do. The reason why I say I get it, because at that time I wasn't really watching football, and Michael Vick permeated my bubble. You see what I'm saying? Like I knew who he was, right? So I get it. I get the hype. Anthony Rice says Sunday will also be the return of Georgia's own DeAndre Swift and Desmond Trufant. The Cutters should be able to put an offensive game plan to go after Trufant. Yeah, we'll see how that works out. We're going to need to bottle up DeAndre Swift. That's for sure.
Yes,
He's finally starting to get clicking up there in Detroit. So we're going to have to bottle him up. Our formerly owned Toby D says the biggest difference in Cutter's offense I noticed was that we saw an offense running more bootlegs and rollouts, and wouldn't you know it, it worked exactly. And I'm wondering how much of that was even Cutter going, okay, what do y'all want to do? Let's back up and punt. I saw things that we just hadn't seen much all year, and bootlegs and rollouts, things that Matt Ryan over the years has gotten more comfortable doing, being more mobile. Because as he saw, that's where the game was going.
Yes, right.
And he transformed his game. How many other quarterbacks can say that? He transformed his game to adapt. And, so now they're starting to, hopefully, it isn't just a one-time thing. Hopefully they're starting to incorporate that stuff in. Because, I mean, come on, that Julio Jones' second touchdown, that little pop pass on 4th and 3.
That's innovative.
Right. That's what I've been asking for. Is that kind of stuff right there.
Innovative.
Is letting these guys be more creative or getting more creative with these play calling. Yep. When you start doing stuff like with the bootlegs and the rollouts, and then you're making defenses guess at what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing that we hadn't done the first 5 games really.
Right.
So I was glad to see that. M. Davenport says, throw the ball 60 yards, get in the red zone, can't score. Matt Ryan in the offense in a nutshell. Yeah, I mean, I can't say that I can disagree. It does, there are times that it does seem like, you get closer to the end zone and, the offense gets bottled up.
Yeah, and
go ahead,
Mike. And my thing is that happens, and to be honest with you, kind of to play devil's advocate a little bit to kind of, JR's point about Matt Ryan, I think that is one of the things that is consistently frustrating, more so about our quarterback, because as well as he does on the 30-yard line or the 40-yard line or the 20-yard line driving forward, as Matty Ice as he is, when we get to that critical area, that red zone, the ability to make those tight window throws is always something that, does leave a little bit more to be desired. But again, we know our quarterback's not perfect. you know. But I think that's why, you know, we try to take the good and the bad. And that's why you go and you look at this modern NFL and you ask yourself, you know, how many truly elite quarterbacks are there? Like, what is elite? What does an elite quarterback look like in this modern, you know, this modern NFL? Because to me, you ask yourself, 10 years ago, would you have said Lamar Jackson was an elite quarterback? Or would you be trying as hard as you can to put him the receiver or put him at free safety, right?
Or
I think
make him stand still.
And
drop back and pass.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, but the red zone do get tight, but you only the best quarterback as the plays that you run, right? Matt Ryan is not calling the plays. If Dirk Cutter have a red zone playbook, you should have an area on that play card that's specifically for red zone, right? So you can scheme to get people open who Matt Ryan can just throw the ball to, like that Hayden Hurst play. That Hayden Hurst play was perfect, right? So ain't nobody saying, okay, they're not saying, okay, Dirk Cutter called that play, or oh God, Matt Ryan just found Hayden Hurst wide open. That play was schemed open by the play that Matt Ryan was told to run, right?
That's true.
He's told to run plays. He don't run his own plays now, guys. Come on now. Take over, JL, because I'm ready.
You're 100% right. I will go back to that interview that he had right before the Super Bowl with Shanahan. You know, because in 2015, it seemed like they was ready to kill each other. And 2016 rolls around and you have a historic offense. What's the difference, right? You know, and, you know, they asked the question. Matt Ryan basically said, look, I'm going to run the plays that they call, right? So he's going to work within the freedom that he's given. If he's given more freedom and given more plays that he's able to audible to and around, that's what he's going to do, right? So to echo something that was said earlier, and I'll continue to say for as long as I'm doing this, I want a coach that is going to coach to the strength of my players. Okay? You know, if you know for whatever reason, like if we know that this is a downside of my quarterback, that the closer I get to the end zone, the more suspect it becomes, okay, well, let's draw up some plays that makes it easier on him. Let's draw up some plays that gets people open in space in the tighter areas. Let's utilize, some the running backs coming out of the backfield. There's things that you can do instead of asking him to make a tight window throw, to a receiver coming across the middle in triple coverage. When you know that he doesn't necessarily have that type of arm strength, right? Because that's one of the big knocks on Matt Ryan is that he doesn't have a cannon for an arm. Okay, well, neither did Peyton Manning, right?
Right. Matt Ryan ain't perfect.
Exactly.
Somebody just said we put him on the pedestal. No, we not.
No.
Because we get on to him too when he do wrong too. So don't do that.
I said it last week. I'll say it this week. Matt Ryan cost you that game against Carolina.
That's what I'm saying.
Flat out. Let's just call it what it is, I mean, how many points did the Vikings score? 23. How many points did Carolina score last week? 23. What's the real difference? The offense scored 40.
There you go.
And easily enough, like we talk about, that's why I wanted to start out with saying that this team didn't look that much different in this win versus the loss that they had. Or the losses that they've had, right?
I did.
What looked different is that, you were more balanced in, on your offense. You were running the ball a little bit better. In the fourth quarter, hey, you actually ran the ball with a lead. Imagine that.
Imagine that.
And here's the thing, though.
Go ahead.
And you're right, though. Another thing that I think of, to your point, is freedom. The players played free last week. You look at Keanu Neal, he was running through the hole, smashing people. That was the Keanu Neal 2 months ago that we would have thought would have set the tone from the season. The last five or six games, they played timid. They played to not only themselves not get fired, they played to try not to get their coach fired, and they've also tried to play the game of football. They play like they've been overthinking. This is a team that played free. Deion Jones played free. Matter of fact, he was not only the best Falcon on the field, he was the best middle linebacker in football last Sunday.
Right.
So hopefully, and that's another thing to harp on. If Raheem Morris can keep that freedom, he can keep these guys playing free, because you look at the team, Jimbo, every time we played on a team that made some noise, we played free. We knew what was expected of us.
Exactly.
We played calm, we played free, and it was fun to be out there. Football is fun when you play it like that. So we hope that these Dirty Birds can continue to play like that. No matter who the coach is, who the offensive coordinator is, who we prognosticate, as long as these guys keep that mindset set that, one, we can finish games, and two, football is fun again. Yeah. I think we might see, some teams in a better direction. Because right now, I'm not convinced that a lot of these guys even want to be Atlanta Falcons, i.e. attack McKinley.
Oh, man. So, we can. Somebody asked when we thought Tack McKinley was coming back. I don't know. I mean, how hard is he trying to get back? I don't know. He may be California dreaming for all I know. You know what I'm saying?
He is California dreaming. No, JR, he is California dreaming. Yep. On IG on Sunday, I saw that he had the Golden Gate Bridge. He had a clock, the clock emoji, time, and the Golden Gate Bridge. It's almost like his mind, literally, you are in his head right now.
There you go,
JR. Literally, is West Coast dreaming right now.
That's it. He may be California dreaming. And at this point, okay, fine. You ain't really showed me nothing anyway. So if you don't want to be here, I don't want you here. That much is for sure.
That's for sure.
That is a for sure. If we don't, if you don't want to be here, you and your for real glass cannon self, if you don't want to be here, I definitely don't want you here. That's for sure. But
Tack McKinley, I want you to take notes from Marcell Ozuna. That's a guy that you look at Marcell. When Marcell Ozuna used to walk up to the plate for the Braves and he was like the bear, that was the one. To be honest with you, it's hard to equate that to football terminology, but it's like we needed Tack McKinley to be our Marcell Ozuna type person, and he's kind of falling short. He's kind of falling short of that. But again, we're not bashing you, Tack. It's just you came up in our questions and we had to make an example out of you.
All right, Kojak, man, tuck it with a big tip there. Good Lord. Thank you, Kojak. It says, y'all keep talking that real ish. Do y'all think Raheem Morris could be long term?
JR, get that, JR.
Yeah, I'm going to get that.
That's you now.
Okay, so with Raheem Morris, what I can easily see happening, and I initially brought it up last week, and I'll continue to bring it up, is that if Raheem Morris does well in this, let's see here. Oh, there we go. I got some user being crazy. Anyway, sorry. If Raheem Morris has this team ended up 7-9, 8-8, 9-7, I can easily see him continue to keep this job, and like the interim being removed. Now, I know a lot of people aren't going to think Raheem Morris is the long-term answer, and I am not necessarily one who thinks that Raheem Morris would be the long-term answer, possibly. But I will say this, to piggyback off on something that was brought up earlier, with the money that you have tied into Matt Ryan and Julio Jones, you got another 2 to 3 years before you can really walk away from them guys. And it wouldn't surprise me one bit if they start playing good that you want to end Matt Ryan's career with a stable coach, if that makes any sense. Okay? Mm-hmm. And when I say his career, maybe not his full-on playing career, but his career with the Atlanta Falcons, all right? That I don't know if you necessarily want to spend the money on a whole new system, whole new regime type deal, right? If he does well, given his connection already with Rich McKay from their previous time in Tampa, I can easily see him being held on to as the head coach for a few more years and given the opportunity to build.
Yeah. And I can piggyback off of that because I'm glad you brought that up a week ago, JR. If he's doing what he's supposed to do, and he giving the fans, at the end of the day, it's us now that they gotta please. Don't get it twisted. He giving us what we want, and the numbers are looking good to Arthur Blanks, he's gonna stick around. And you gotta understand, a veteran like a Julio Jones and a Matt Ryan do have say in this also. Maybe don't. I remember when Michael Jordan played, and Michael Jordan used to say, I'm not playing for nobody else but Phil Jackson. What if Matt Ryan and Julio Jones came out and said, I'm not playing for nobody else but Raheem Morris? You got to honor their word, right? So he could stick around for the long term. If he can show that this year like he did in the first game, which is a great way to start, this man could be here around until Matt Ryan and Julio Jones decide to pack it up.
Right.
What you think, Mike?
I agree. I agree though, but here's the thing though. I look at whoever our next coach being as, it's like, every year we prioritize pass rush and all this stuff as our biggest free agent acquisition. I think our biggest acquisition is our head coach, and general manager as well. Because you ask yourself this, Matt Ryan will be a 36-year-old quarterback next year. If Matt Ryan does not get a coach that helps him win, to be honest with you, he will immediately turn into Carson Palmer.
Oh, big time.
Big decline. The plane is about to land. Yep. It's a wrap, right?
Yep.
And I mean, you can't make this. I can't compare Julio to anybody else. I can't say what that does to Julio, but it is important to know that to that point, I think that's why you have a Raheem Morris. You're right. The familiarity with the Rich McKay, the familiarity with an Arthur Blank, because you ask yourself as the owner of this team, how uncomfortable does Arthur Blank want to be?
Right.
That's important as well too. So Arthur Blank doesn't want, the last thing Arthur Blank wants again, or the possibility of, is a toxic culture. He's too old. He's been around the team too long. Yep. And the Falcons are worth too much money as a franchise to put it in the wrong hands. So to your point, I don't think we can talk enough about who the next coach would be, but we cannot take Raheem Morris off the hopper yet unless
look. Just like B Strong tipped us $2 there. We appreciate it, B Strong. He said Raheem Morris is a leader of men, like Arthur Blank wants. That's what that's part of what I'm saying is before this season started off, and we started off as bad as we did. Raheem Morris's name was getting mentioned in head coaching circles, circuits, as somebody who had put in their due. And put in their time and was, possibility of getting a head coaching job again. So, like I said, it would not surprise me if this team responds well to what, Raheem Morris, the message that he's selling, the uncomfortableness, the not wanting to run the same plays over, in practice over and over again. If they respond well to this, then I could easily see Raheem Morris be given the reins, But let's talk about some of the other coaching hires that people have wanted. How's that Mike McCarthy looking down there in Dallas, down there with a big star? That's going real well, right?
Oh, it's going as good as it's going to go, JR.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely ain't trying to talk about anybody else's situation, so to speak, because I'm not a fan of any other team.
Right.
But
we're not you guys, right? Like we don't do you guys like y'all do us. We're not
right.
Right. Anyway, go ahead.
But the fact that you're 2-4, and your players are already anonymously coming out saying that y'all ain't got a game plan and y'all don't know what you're doing. That's not good. Not your first season in, right? Even at the tail end of Dan Quinn's, people were still talking about how much they loved Quinn, So the fact that you already kind of losing the locker room speaks volumes. And then let's just go ahead and call everybody and their mother wanted Kubiak because of his system.
Whoa.
How'd that Kubiak look on Sunday?
Pump them brakes.
I mean, you see what I'm saying? I understand we want to be better. Right? I get it. I absolutely get it. Yeah. I will stand on the table if I can find one that can hold me and tell everybody that I want my team to be the best team out there. Right? And I'm willing to think and try just about anything. But looking around the league at some of these other cautionary tales, right?
Yeah.
Sean McVay isn't looking like the wonderkin that he did a few years ago. Zach Taylor up in the Bengals, right? He's looking about lost as they can get.
Yeah, he's ready to get out of Cincinnati.
And he's only 2 years on the job?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
I mean, Green Bay looks good, but there's a big, rift between Aaron Rodgers and Matt LaFleur. Huge. And when it shows its ugly head, buddy, it shows it. To the tune of what happened, to them in Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
So these like I said, just look at these as cautionary tales when you're wanting this guy or when you're wanting that guy.
Gotta dig deep, man.
That's it. All right.
Look at it.
Cornell Luster says, Sean, Trevor hasn't won a thing in the NFL. You're giving praise to someone who has not earned it. All right, I'm gonna do something to address this Trevor thing real quick, and I want to see if you guys are with me or not. Right, Trevor Lawrence looks like a man amongst boys out there. I'll give it to him. Flat out,
Absolutely.
looks like a beast. Right,
Always.
like his stat line against Georgia Tech. Oh my God, that was crazy.
Boy.
Right.
Yeah.
Keep in mind that he plays for Clemson, who has arguably the best offensive line, who gets the best defensive players, who gets the best wide receivers.
Yes.
And you're playing against teams who don't have the best versions of those. Okay? Now, you put that same guy, as you said earlier, Jimbo, you put him on the New York Giants, who ain't got an offensive line, who are starting to trade away defensive players, who has a crazy head coach in Adam Gase. What's he gonna look like? He's gonna look like Sam Darnold.
Yes,
Right.
sir.
And then you start throwing those, and then you start throwing those expectations on them.
Oh
you know?
yeah, for sure,
And they're not patient in New York with quarterbacks.
No.
Like, you know, so you're right though. I mean, to your point, I think that's the same thing with Justin Fields because you know, until these guys, like Mike Tyson said it the best, everybody got a plan until you get hit in the mouth. You know,
That's
and
it.
I think until they can move past that, then we're gonna keep having these conversations.
That's right. To Big says, I'm sorry, but I have to respectfully disagree as a Falcons fan. We beat a team that was 1-4. We beat a team that was 1-4. Sorry, that doesn't put him in the talks for a head coaching job. I think he's talking about Raheem Morris. I ain't saying it off of one win. To Biggs, by no means. Like he's got an 11-game audition, right? I'm assuming that's what you're talking about. So
yeah.
Nick,
So
go ahead.
let's pause on that for a second. Hold on.
Yeah.
Before we go to the next question, right?
Sure.
If you look at the Minnesota Vikings, that was actually, even though they were 1-4, look at their record. They had a lot of close games. If you look at the game they played against the Seahawks just the week before, you know, that's a team. This is a team that is actually, we played our polar opposite on Sunday. And usually when we play the Vikings, they usually have our number. They usually, where we're weak, you know, they're strong, vice versa, right? We haven't beat the Vikings in our last 3 or 4. That's been a team that has been consistently just a thorn in our side, no matter how good we've been, right? So
we had matched up well against them.
Not only did we beat them, we matched up well with them, and we did something that they did to us last year. We set the tone early. Yep. So I think that, yes, that is a result of Raheem Morris. That is a result of playing free. That is a result of the culture. And let's not forget something about Raheem Morris. Before there was Sean McVay, there was Raheem Morris. Raheem Morris, at 32 years old, was one of the youngest NFL head coaches in the history of the NFL. So
no question about it, Mike.
I'm not going to sit there and act like he didn't make an impact into us beating a team that we haven't beaten consistently.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's keep rolling through some of these comments. We these last 2 weeks we haven't been able to be in the comments because hey, there's actually something to talk about. Check that out. Imagine that, right? Sean Gomes says y'all sleeping in Wade Phillips as the DC. Look, you bring me a innovative coach and put Wade Phillips as the DC, I'm down. Like to the point, like I'll go ahead and like somewhat start promoting it now. Y'all keep an eye on the channel on Thursday. I'm starting a new series where I'm going to be spotlighting coaches that not many people are talking about, right? And so, and I bring up Wade Phillips as a DC in this video. I ain't going to give away who I'm spotlighting.
Don't give it away.
But y'all, you know, like I said, just keep an eye on the channel. I'm starting to do a series. I'm going to do one each week, you know, from pro ranks and college. And we just spotlighting different coaches that nobody might not be talking about, right?
Yes, sir. Yes,
so,
sir.
Yeah, I bring up Wade Phillips. Like you pair Wade Phillips with a, you know, offensive-minded head coach, and yeah, I'm down for that. I mean, it's like the early days in LA with McVay. You know what I'm saying?
No question.
All right, Trey Prudy says Todd Monken for OC next year. Yeah, I mean, I'd be down for it. But a lot of people wanted Todd Monken on the staff this year, you know, but he ended up going to Georgia. So I'll be interested to see how they didn't fare too well against Alabama, but we'll see how the rest of the year goes for old Todd Monken.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of how they fared against Alabama, how's Steve Sarkisian looking nowadays?
Man, don't bring his name up right now. Don't bring his name up.
I'm just saying.
Whoa. That one hurt.
Anyway, okay. somebody brought up Jason Garrett's name. Oh, M. Davenport. Could Jason Garrett be a candidate? No, sir. I don't want Mr. Claps.
Hey,
I
no.
don't need Mr. Claps anywhere near my organization.
Yeah, back up off of that.
Yeah, especially not what he's doing up there in New York. No, I'm good. Anonymous says we need to look for a QB. Let's not look at a winning QB. Let's get someone who will be great in our system. Again, this is all going to come down to whoever they bring in as the head coach, right? It's as plain and simple as that. Like whoever they bring in, he's going to have a major say at the QB position. They have already made that known. So,
No question.
That's right.
R2K says, why do people want Wade Phillips here? I don't get it. Wade Phillips is an innovative, or at least he calls a very innovative game, as far as the defense is concerned. And let's face it, man, Wade Phillips produces some great pass rushing. And what do we like to see? Pass rushing,
I'll take Wade Phillips over Bob Sutton right now. There's no question about it.
What is Bob Sutton even doing?
I'm still trying to figure that out, Jay.
Is he just stealing money? Because I can do what he's doing, right?
I can take some of that money, too.
I can take a check. I know how to cash a check.
Yeah, I really don't know what he do.
Okay. Just saying, I don't know what he's doing. Jupiter Fox says Kirk Cousins gave everybody a pick. I'm going to go ahead and call it. Before that game on Sunday, I was, you were starting to hear talks like, Kirk Cousins was progressing and doing good, especially after that game against Seattle where they put it all over Seattle until the very end, And then what articles do I see today? Oh, Kirk Cousins is the problem. That's the articles that I'm seeing, which is great to see after playing against us.
Maybe our defense just made him look like Kirk Cousins. We can't get that part of that side of it.
No,
okay.
No.
Go ahead, Jay.
It's got to be somebody else's reason, not that we did good.
Hey, I'm with Jimbo. Anytime we make a quarterback look like the regular quarterback, that's a win in itself. So you talk about what are the wins outside of the actual win in the game? We made a quarterback look worse or look like himself.
That's
we
right.
didn't. A backup didn't come in and beat us. Like luckily they didn't have a backup that could come in and beat us. I was good about that.
Right. Ain't that what always happen?
Oh God. Anyway,
backups come in and oh man. Let's see. Just saw a comment that I wanted to read. Hold on. Okay, somebody was asking, can we trade Takk McKinley? Look, you can give me a fifth, fifth, sixth round pick and take him.
I tell you what.
Because you're probably gonna let him walk. So
I tell you what. Somebody out there in California, Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles for Takk McKinley right now. Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles.
That's right.
Let's go.
Sunshine UFO says it was a memorable first interception for rookie Terrell, AJ Terrell. That was one of them. That's like one of them that don't hardly ever go the Falcons' way, right?
Right.
That's a great point. And you know what? I think JR, we do. I know we we're running out of time. But
that's all right.
AJ Terrell had an amazing game last week, and I think that's a sign of things to come. And I think that if we really just kind of want to do that speculative 2021 through 2024, show when we start talking about the future, AJ Terrell he's every game getting better and better, right? And one thing I like about AJ Terrell that I didn't expect is that he's a much surer tackler and he's much more physical on the receivers than I expected, right? And I think that that's a sign of much to come. Shout out to him on his first interception. That's a sign of more to come. Again, we are beyond the fact that we reached for AJ Terrell. We got a good cornerback. We look at our team right now. We're in rebuild mode, and we need pieces. He's a piece that we'll build around. And like I said, a shout out to AJ Terrell on his first pick.
Be Strong tipped us $5 to get his question read again, so we appreciate that. And I appreciate all that coming in. He says, do you think Eric Bieniemy would be a great fit for Matt Ryan's style? Do you think that Bieniemy would want to keep Matt Ryan 3 to 5 years, most likely? I don't know. I think that Bieniemy really found his footing with that newer style QB in the Patrick Mahomes. I honestly think if I had to take a stab at it, I think Bieniemy would be a real good fit in Houston with Deshaun Watson.
Right.
If you were to bring Bieniemy here, I would think that would signal a demise, not demise, not the right word, but that would signal an end to Matt Ryan's career. Because what put Bieniemy on everybody's radar? It was Pat Mahomes.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You getting that bottom until Pat Mahomes walked in the building.
Right.
Exactly.
And so,
what did he do with Alex Smith though? Right. To that point though, what did he take Alex Smith to the next level? I mean, not true enough. Alex Smith.
He kept him consistent, but he didn't take him to that next level, Mike.
That's right. And so I think that Houston would be a better spot for Bieniemy in my limited opinion in that aspect. Ghost Pepper says, never understood why we kept Tack around when it was obviously he doesn't want to be here. Yeah. Well, I mean, to me, that was a Dan Quinn.
Hey, and Ghost Pepper, you're on fire. Ghost Pepper is one of my favorite commenters.
Oh yeah.
I like him.
And the thing about it is, I think that it's evident, man. I think that Tack carries himself in a way where I don't think his attitude is a surprise to the city. Like if you watch him, a lot of his mannerisms tell you that. I mean, and true enough, like I said, I'm not here to bash Tack because I think like while Tack was healthy, Tack was showing the signs to put it together. But I think that football a lot of times is it's a mental thing too, though. And I think Tack could probably benefit from just a change of culture. He just seems like a guy that is enjoying what football gives him. But I think that, he's a guy that's already kind of starting to check out. Right. And I think, we need pass rushers like Dante Fowler because again, a lot of our DBN family, they've been hard on Dante Fowler. But if you notice the last couple of weeks, Dante Fowler's has pushed through an ankle injury all year.
That's really what it is.
Yeah, and he's starting to make some of those physical plays, some of those plays where he just bully a man. He just, he get off the line quickly. He just smacks somebody. And we need those guys.
I know he isn't necessarily racking up the sacks yet, but he's getting his presence felt. And that's the part that we have been lacking from the defensive end is having somebody to have their presence felt. Mark Godby made his comment twice, so I want to go ahead and read it. He's asking, it was obvious that Dan Quinn and Thomas Dimitroff created a toxic culture. Now, this is something that I want to bring up because a lot of times when you hear toxic culture, you think about somebody like a Bill O'Brien or like an Adam Gase who's like, yelling and screaming and all this other stuff. But being buddy can be toxic as well, right? Yep. I mean, how many times have you heard as, if you don't have kids or whatever, but you heard people talk about parents who are their kid's best friend and how that doesn't help a kid when you are their best friend and not their parent. And a lot same can be said about a head coaching position, when you're their best friend and not their coach or not their boss, and when you're not expecting the things that should be expected, that can create a different type of toxic environment. And in that aspect, right. Margaret says the buddy system is very toxic. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, it is.
So, in that aspect, and Dan, we can all admit, like flat out, Dan Quinn and his stubbornness to change, right? His stubbornness to...
He was stuck on his way.
Right, exactly. So, Curtis...
Yeah, I agree.
Curtis Roberts says, let's face it, 10 years ago, Matt Ryan was perfect for the style of the NFL. I really like Matt. He has done a lot for the organization. It's time to part ways and go a different direction. I don't know about the part ways part. I don't know if we're there yet, but I agree. Our next quarterback will not look like Matt Ryan. He will not play in the same style that Matt Ryan plays in because
that's simply what.
Right. The game is changing.
There you go.
Right. It's definitely changing.
Right. The game is changing. So, okay, it says the champ says fist bumping the team after every trash play is over. Trash play over and over. I think he's talking about Dan Quinn with his toxic mentality.
Yeah, he did that. Yeah.
The only time I ever saw Dan Quinn get fired up on the sideline is when he was yelling at the refs.
Yeah,
right.
But Prove It says Matt is still good, man. He just needed a fire lit under him. Draft a QB, but keep him. I mean, that is a theory, But again, that comes back to the money situation, which is, we can talk about that all day long. But you put, that much money in a quarterback, and then you put that much money in a quarterback sitting on a bench. I just don't see that happening necessarily, especially not if we end up with a top 5 draft pick. Let's see. Okay. Sunshine UFO says, do you think we can stop Tampa Bay's offense if the defense keeps progressing? I see no reason. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Marlon Cross says, I would say they made a lazy culture. That's positive. You know, that's kind of the way it felt. You know.
Yeah. You know what? I would agree. I would agree because I think a lot of times, like when you're comfortable, that's kind of like that gateway to being lazy, right? You know, I get to play ping pong every day. Dan Quinn is my buddy. You know, we wear hats. Dan Quinn is my homeboy.
That's right.
Like I said, we had every slogan, like you said, a fist bump. Those are all things where it looks good on the surface, but it's like everybody is blinded. The culture is actually blinding to the point that they didn't know how to get out of it because somebody literally snapped their finger and said, hey, it is time to actually play football again and play like you want to play and be hungry and be on the aggressive and all of that kind of stuff and finish those kind of things. And they were like, oh my God, we gotta, and that's like you said, that's what they played like, right? So Raheem Morris, he flipped that switch. He turned the hourglass upside down and said, no, I see comfort. This is uncomfortability.
That's right. That's right. Yep. All right, well, gentlemen, we have definitely hit up over an hour. We appreciate everybody who has stopped by. For the folks who, you know, just kept us company, you know, kept us talking about it. Hopefully we'll be talking about more wins.
A quick shout out. Shout out to Jaden that follow me on Twitter. Shout out to Jaden for keep putting us out there and keep letting people know to watch our show. Appreciate it, Jaden.
That's right.
Keep following us on Twitter. Quick, hit me at DM. Appreciate it, man.
But like I said earlier, got a new series coming out on Thursday, spotlighting coaches. And you know, if y'all have suggestions, definitely leave it in the comments underneath that video that's coming out on Thursday. But you can catch me on Twitter. I'm at Grim1128, GRIMM1128. Jimmy?
You can catch me at Jimmy Obama. That's at Jimmy Obama, JIMMYOBAMA on Twitter, baby. Go ahead, Big Mike.
And yes, sir, it's your boy Big Mike Dub. Catch me at Mike Dub, MIKE_DUB. Like I said, man, y'all keep following, showing love, messaging. Remember, again, I'm not y'all therapist with this, but I can give you the number of people that can get you some help.
That's right.
I always love you, man.
As always, Falcons fans, rise up.
Rise up, big dog.
Nope.
Hold on, Mike.
Yeah, don't hang up, Mike.